Here we go again, another mayor involved in some bullshit. Today I'm reacting to another video by Nate the Lawyer. This one is entitled Baltimore Mayor's $1 million tax spending on luxury, wife, SUVs, skyboxes, and parties. So let's go ahead and check it out. See what this one is about. I don't think I'm surprised at this point.
All right, this Baltimore mayor stuff is going insane. First, he gets $160,000 car.
Price of Mayor Brandon Scott's $163,000 executive vehicle matches the cost of some home prices in Baltimore City, and sometimes it exceeds it.
A 2025 Jeep Grand Wagoneer assigned to the mayor that cost taxpayers $163,495.
Then when people called him out on it, he pulled the race card.
You didn't answer the question. How do you justify the cost of this to the taxpayers of Baltimore, the people who...
In your racist slant, there's one.
Here we go. The usual. Let's spend a ton of money, and then if we get caught, we're just going to blame it on racism. We're just going to say racism. Just like this other thing I was looking at where the person got caught, and just because the person who blew the whistle was white, then it was racism. They didn't deny what they did. They just called that the investigation started only because of race. So this does not surprise me one bit whatsoever. It's the usual. It's used so much as a defense. It's just so ridiculous.
Justify the cost of this to the taxpayers of Baltimore, the people who...
In your racist slant, there's one thing.
Then he gives his wife's non-for-profit $62,000 that disappeared.
Our investigation found that Mrs. Scott's employer received an influx of taxpayer money shortly after pairing up with the mayor. And now that organization is pausing operations.
The Baltimore Children and Youth Fund sent taxpayer dollars to an organization that employs Mayor Brandon Scott's wife.
BCYF's latest nonprofit tax form from fiscal year 2024 shows it sent $62,500 to Be More Empowered, where Hannah Scott, the wife of Mayor Scott, is listed as a director of operations.
You cannot have money just disappear.
Then when officials wanted to look at the books, the mayor redacted all the information and said he's not giving up nothing.
Baltimore City Mayor Brandon Scott's office is struggling to explain how it received and spent money from the taxpayer-backed Baltimore Children and Youth Fund. Fallout continues over the mayor's decision to bar his inspector general from access to certain city records.
So basically what he's doing is he's stopping them into investigating him. He is literally stopping an investigation into himself because he knows what he did, what he has done. Allegedly, I'm saying that allegedly, what he has done, and he does not want to get caught. So it seems like he's just blocking them from investigating him. But how legal is that? Can that actually be done? And how do they plan to go around that? Because how can you just stop an investigation, a legal investigation into yourself? Well, let's see.
Very big redactions.
The IG arguing it's the first time in her 8-year career a local subpoena has been blocked.
So let's talk about the crazy mayor of Baltimore, Maryland.
And as expected, Democrat Brandon Scott will be the next mayor of Baltimore City. Scott won big, getting more than 70% of the vote to just 20% for Bob Wallace and 6% for Shannon Wright.
Now,
isn't this a trend? Like usually they run a very good campaign and they usually win by like a landslide, like the last mayor that I reacted to. It seems like they usually win on, and I don't know about how he won, but I'm assuming it's like all the others I've all the other videos I've seen. I've not done reactions to all of them, but they usually run on race, or they promise to make everything better and bring down spending or some things like that, but then they end up doing the opposite of what they promise. But let's continue.
Of the vote to just 20% for Bob Wallace and 6% for Shannon Wright.
Now, there was a lot of hope. The youngest mayor ever, new energy and all of that. And to be fair, he's got some...
Seems similar. The youngest mayor.
Crime is down. Murders are at a 50-year low in Baltimore. Vacant buildings are down 25%, and the population in Baltimore actually grew in 2024. CBS even did a whole puff piece walking around Baltimore with them, talking about how great things are going.
But since 2019, when Baltimore's murder rate hit an all-time high and ranked among the worst in the nation, something has changed. The number of vacant buildings is down 25%. The population actually grew in 2024, and murders have hit a nearly 50-year low.
That's a beautiful story, right? And
that is really, really good. That's really, really good. I think what is happening here, I'm going to elaborate more on that later, but I think he probably did went in with the best of intentions and something along the way changed.
Wing cities, we can't say things like crime is down and people are moving in. It's generally the opposite. This is probably one of the greatest comeback stories in the country right now. All right, so now that we're done with that, let's talk about what that news piece didn't cover. All of the controversies. So here's where things start getting interesting. Mayor Scott's wife, Hannah Scott, works at a not-for-profit called Be More Empowered. Be More for Baltimore Empowered. She's the, quote, director of operations, and she started in September of 2021, before she was married to the mayor. Now, the mayor started dating his wife, Hannah Scott, in 2022. And wouldn't you know it, right after they paired up, her not-for-profit started getting taxpayer money. Funny how that works.
The fabulous, phenomenal, brilliant, and beautiful women of Be More Empowered, who are empowering. Yeah, let's clap. There we go.
That was Mayor Brandon Scott at a July 2023 press conference where he praised leaders of a nonprofit awarded $80,000 as a part of a taxpayer-funded program. What he didn't mention was that one of those leaders he praised was his then girlfriend and now wife. Our investigation found that Mrs. Scott's employer received an influx of taxpayer money shortly after pairing up with the mayor. And now that organization is pausing operations.
See, I'm not sure if the mayors are if the mayor can actually donate taxpayers' money to not-for-profits, organizations that are out to help people or whatever it is. I'm not sure how that really works, but even if they can do it, I doubt they can donate to their girlfriends, to where their girlfriends work or wife or whatever the relationship is, because I think that that's a conflict of interest. And I'm assuming that's what it is right now with this. It's a conflict of interest. So I don't think that's actually allowed.
Mrs. Scott started working as the director of operations for Be More Empowered in September 2021. She started dating the mayor in 2022. Her employer began to receive money through the Baltimore city government in 2023, totaling $34,950 taxpayer dollars by 2024. And that's not all. The Downtown Partnership of Baltimore awarded Be More Empowered $80,000 through a taxpayer-funded program in July 2023, a day before the Scotts went public with their relationship through a pregnancy announcement. The taxpayer-backed Baltimore Children and Youth Fund sent Be More Empowered $62,500 from July 2023 to June 2024. Meanwhile, Be More Empowered has not filed a tax form since 2023, meaning it's almost a year behind its required filings with the IRS. And none of its previous tax forms mention Mrs. Scott's position or salary.
So just so we're on the same page, the mayor's wife is working as the director of operations for this nonprofit, but they can't find her name on any of the listings. They don't know how much she's getting paid. And the city starts dumping hundreds of thousands of dollars into this not-for-profit, which then suddenly ceases operations when people start asking questions.
Yeah, that's very suspicious that you just close down operations when questions are starting to be asked. Yeah, very suspicious.
tied to Mayor Brandon Scott's wife, stopped operations after receiving roughly $100,000 taxpayer dollars.
All right, so if you're keeping score, we're talking about a roughly $160,000 in taxpayer money connected to this non-for-profit that employs the mayor's wife, and that's just what we know about. So now, this is where things get really, really interesting with Be More Empowered. See, the partnership that gave Be More Empowered that $80,000 of taxpayer money, it was to open a storefront on North Howard Street in Baltimore. So the news media went there and the location was all boarded up. So then they went and asked, well, what did you do with the money? Because you didn't obviously use it to open a storefront. Then they claimed they opened another storefront on North Charles Street in Baltimore. The reporters went there too, and the office space was also empty and listed for rent.
Spokesman for the Downtown Partnership told Spotlight on Maryland the grant.
Question. So this is what question I have in my mind. They're investigating you. They're trying to find out what you did with the money. You were supposed to open a location at point A, but then you told them you did it at point B. You didn't think that they was gonna go ahead and look into that. You didn't think they was gonna go ahead and investigate it to see if the office was actually there, and kind of like what they did with the BLM when they went and supposedly it's in this gated community, but then the place is actually vacant. There's no one in there. There's no office in there. So it's kind of the same thing. Don't you think that they were going to investigate it and to see if you actually are using the money the way it's supposed to be getting used? And then you give them a location that you're not at. That's crazy.
Be More Empowered was supposed to help the organization open a storefront location on North Howard Street. However, when we visited the location, it was boarded up. The spokesman told us Be More Empowered ended up opening the storefront on North Charles Street. However, when we visited this location, it was listed as an office space for rent. The spokesman also added that Be More Empowered is no longer a part of its program and has yet to submit documentation of how it spent the grant money.
So what were they using the money for? It wasn't for the rent because they were sued in court because they weren't paying the rent.
Our further investigation led us to the courthouse, where Spotlight on Maryland pulled documents showing Be More Empowered was sued in September for not paying rent at its North Charles Street office. The documents state nobody from Be More Empowered showed up in court, and the organization was ordered to pay rent with interest.
So obviously, there's something very, very wrong with Be More Empowered because as soon as people started asking questions, they disappeared. Now, other than funneling hundreds of thousands of dollars to his wife's non-for-profit, which could be a conflict of interest, the mayor has some other problems with spending the city's money. Okay, now let's talk about the mayor's ride, because this one is something special. See, the mayor is driving around in a 2025 Jeep Grand Wagoneer that cost taxpayers $163,000. Now, the SUV itself was about $98,000, and with the luxury and security upgrades, they paid an extra $65,000 for it. Now, that number may seem okay, but let me put it in context. The governor of the state of Maryland, his name is Wes Moore, he runs the entire state, and he drives around in a Chevy Suburban that costs $82,000, half of what the mayor of the city of Baltimore is driving around in.
Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott.
I guess he wants to ride in style. He thinks that reminds me of Tiffany Henyard. Is that her name? Tiffany Henyard. That whole the thing with her with also expensive spending and riding around in some pretty expensive vehicles. They sound very familiar.
Is brushing off questions about his taxpayer-funded SUV. It comes to Spotlight on Maryland has learned it is the most expensive executive vehicle in the state, costing more than $55,000, more than the next highest government vehicle.
Governor Wes Moore's 2025 Chevrolet Suburban cost about $72,000, with roughly $10,000 in security upgrades, a total of $82,141. Scott's vehicle price breaks down differently, about $98,000 for the SUV itself and nearly $65,000 in security upgrades, a 99% price difference. Almost.
Who's trying to get in this man? Who's he trying to hide from? That he needed more upgrades for security upgrades than the man that runs the entire state.
double.
So yeah, this is another Tiffany Henyard for sure. But the mayor of Baltimore wanted to defend himself. Here's what he said about the cost of that vehicle.
Base price of SUVs now are, as you know, between $90,000 and $100,000.
Spotlight on Maryland fact-checked that claim. A 2026 Jeep Grand Wagoneer MSRP starts below $65,000. A 2026 Chevrolet Suburban starts around $63,000. And a 2026 Ford Expedition starts near $62,000. Prices well below what the mayor says.
All right, so you can get the vehicle for $60,000 and not the $90,000 the mayor said. Well, we may be talking about different years, right? A car from 2022 is going to cost less than a car from 2026. So that's what the mayor's going to say. We're talking about cars from different years.
A vehicle that was purchased in 2023 is not the same price as 2025. Right? You have to understand that reality. When you look at, I'm talking, you can listen to, let me talk, please. We heard your question. You've asked the same idiotic question now for 3 months.
This man sounds very familiar. Very familiar. He's like sort of like the Black Trump going on over here. He asking stupid questions.
So Spotlight on Maryland ran the numbers to see if the mayor was right, comparing only 2025 vehicles with records we obtained. These 4 county executives have vehicles in the price range of $51,000 to $77,000. Governor Moore, $82,000. Mayor Scott, $163,000.
So the mayor got...
Damn, he's spending so much, and all these other politicians are not spending that much on their vehicles. So what exactly, how did he spend double? I mean, he had more, I guess he had more upgrade. I guess somebody's trying to get at him or something. I don't know.
Tired of trying to justify why he spent double what anybody else is spending on cars. He just said the reporter, who happens to be white, is a racist. And that's the reason why she's asking these racist questions.
This is ridiculous. Let it go.
You didn't answer the question. How do you justify the cost of this to the taxpayers of Baltimore, the people who live here?
You're a racist slant.
Now, we've given his wife's nonprofit hundreds of thousands of tax dollars and then spending all this extra money on this elaborate SUV. We haven't even gotten to the mayor's spending spree. So in the city of Baltimore, they issue purchase cards, basically government credit cards for employees. Now, the inspector general in Baltimore looked into how the mayor's office was using those cards, and it found some crazy things
inside the wallets of more than 200 government employees. City-issued purchase cards, commonly referred to as P cards. Think of them as company credit cards using taxpayer dollars. The IG finding 468 food-related transactions.
I heard about this a lot, where they get a credit card or a card to use to spend, and they end up, I think that's what happened with Henyard, I believe, as well. And they end up using it for personal things. And I think that what they should do is, before they can spend or buy anything, they should have a committee that votes on that. But I mean, they kind of did it, and Henyard just ignored all of that and did what she wanted anyway. But I think that's what it should be, some way to keep track of the money and, it being approved. It shouldn't just be, oh, the mayor just go ahead and just spend the card. It should be, it should have kind of like what we have with our card these days, where you can go ahead and lock the card. That way it can be used. So they should have it where it can only be authorized to make a purchase for whatever this committee or the city council, whatever, votes on, and only that particular charge can actually be charged on the card, and no other, every other things any other charges that the mayor would try to make would just be declined. Let's put it like that.
Totaling $230,000. Of that, $52,000 spent on food and beverages during Orioles and Ravens games inside the mayoral suite at both stadiums. In another instance, an administrator reportedly demanding a, quote, fresh fruit tray available to everyone in the mayor's suite daily. The report also flagging purchases investigators say are flat out prohibited, citing at least one transaction for Tito's vodka during a Ravens game.
This man buying alcohol with taxpayers' money. All right, I guess we funding the mayor's alcohol now. Well, I don't live in the city, but the people of Baltimore is funding the mayor's lifestyle.
So, luxury suites, food, and vodka. That is the way you spend taxpayer money. And it gets even crazier than that. Now, there's a person named Marvin Jones. He's a longtime ally of the mayor. And this is crazy. The mayor decides to spend $4,000 of taxpayer money to have this going away party for Mr. Jones. But the punchline is the guy actually never left. He never quit his job. He is still working there today, making almost $200,000.
Wait. How do you have a going away party for someone who is not going away? They're still there. I'm confused as to how that happens. You have a going away party for someone who is not going away. Huh.
He is still working there today, making almost $200,000.
And then also, though, I know that your office spent nearly $4,000 on a goodbye party for somebody who never left and is still making almost $200,000. Why is that okay?
Yeah, I think, Mackenzie, we know that you guys want to make this out to be something that is not.
Plus, nearly $4,000 on a going away party for Marvin James, one of the mayor's longtime allies and aides who never actually left City Hall. Taxpayers footed the bill for his Bon Voyage event that included $2,600 for crab balls, grilled salmon and other food, $217 for a cake, a balloon arch costing $324, and nearly $400 on foam boards with James's photo on it.
Yeah, that seems more of like a birthday party disguised as a going away party. Maybe that's what it was, because that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like a birthday party.
$4 and nearly $400 on foam boards with James's photo on it.
So now, obviously, people are wondering about the appropriateness of spending taxpayer monies in this way. But the mayor says, hold on. If it's not illegal, then it's appropriate.
You guys you're harping on this small amount of money, which you heard again, nothing.
Small amount of money, but it adds up over time. And again, you're spending taxpayer money on things that you're supposed to be, on money that the money is supposed to be used to upkeep and do things for the city and its citizens, and you're using it on personal things. So yeah, it may be small in the grand scheme of things, but if you keep doing that, that money adds up and it's not small anymore. So what you're saying there sounds stupid, Mr. Mayor.
You're harping on this small amount of money, which you heard again, nothing illegal was done here.
But is it appropriate?
If it's not illegal, then it's appropriate.
Now think about
if it's
that
not
for
illegal,
a second.
then
the
it's
mayor's
appropriate.
standard for spending taxpayer money is as long as technically no one goes to jail. It's like saying
makes no
it's not
sense,
illegal
but
to max out the city's credit card at a strip club, but is it appropriate? And the mayor's spending spree didn't stop there. See, about 10 years.
Yeah, how would you feel about that? It's not illegal for him to spend all the taxpayers' money at a strip club, but if he does, would you be okay with that just because it's not illegal?
Years ago, the mayor's office had about 39 employees for about $5 million. This mayor was like, no, we got to do a lot better than that. So he exploded the budget.
At City Hall, the mayor's office has grown far larger and become far costlier than any other mayor's office in this city's history. 10 years ago, the mayor's office operated with 39 employees and a budget of $5.2 million. Today, however, there are 118 staffers working in the office whose budget has ballooned to $24.7 million, a budget almost 4 times greater than the one just 10 years ago.
Now, the Inspector General subpoenaed all this record records from the mayor's office to see how this money was being spent. And when the records came back, the mayor treated it as the Epstein files and redacted everything.
It was 2 months ago when Inspector General...
Yo, did the lawyer got me with that one? Yo, Nate, you funny.
The Epstein files and redacted everything.
It was 2 months ago when Inspector General Isabel Cumming began requesting financial records related to a Mozzie youth program and Baltimore's Information and Technology Office. But she discovered there was a problem. Her record request had yielded some 200 documents with critical information blacked out.
Very big redactions. I mean, this one,
he may as well have not said anything. That's it. That's all it is. It just says $216, and my man just redacted what it's for. Like, this is what was spent. That's it. That's all you're gonna get. Take it or leave it. I know you already know what I'm spending, but that's all you get, and everything else is gonna be blacked out. You're just gonna get a black page with $260 and then a few little text on the bottom and a green button. That's it, man.
Cash App payment. All I know is that it's a Cash App payment, but where my part of the job, which is to find out who got the money and whether that's legit, that's blacked out. I can't do the job when I'm given documents that look like this.
Yo, this is like another
he's
Tiffany
redacted
Henyard,
the files. Again, it looks like the Epstein files. Those are the level of redactions you see in those documents. So let's just recap real quick. The mayor's wife, who worked for a nonprofit that received about $167,000 in taxpayer-connected money, failed to open the office it was supposed to, stopped operations, is getting sued for not paying rent, and hasn't filed taxes. When it comes to credit cards, the mayor's spending $52,000 on football games and baseball games. He's spending taxpayer money on vodka and $4,000 for a going away party for a guy who didn't go away. Oh yeah, and one thing I forgot to mention, the mayor actually pulled $7 million from a children's fund to cover the budget shortfall because he was kind of recklessly spending a lot of money.
This guy, Mario, this guy is diabolical. You overspend, as he said, on small things. And like I said, they added up. And now to fill the gap, he took money from a children's program to fund money that's supposed to fund children's programs or program or whatever it's supposed to do for the kids, and then put it back in so you can basically fill in the shortfall because of your small spending. This guy.
Children's fund to cover the budget shortfall because he was kind of recklessly spending a lot of money.
At debate, a funding measure previously reported on by Spotlight on Maryland that sends $16 million taxpayer dollars to the Baltimore Children and Youth Fund nonprofit, which then sends $7 million of those funds to the mayor's Office of Employment Development.
I want to be very careful.
Councilmember Mark Conway backed Cohen's criticism that the mayor should avoid supplementing his budget through a taxpayer-funded nonprofit.
So I want to make sure that we don't set a precedent that we wouldn't want to be replicated in the future.
A city official said the $7 million going from BCYF to the mayor's office would help continue to fund employment and summer programs for Baltimore kids, such as YouthWorks.
We had a shortfall, and so we approached the BCYF board and asked if they would consider investing to make sure we were able to maintain that level of support for YouthWorks this year, and we're very grateful that they did.
So I'm going to say it. For those of you who watched the Tiffany Henyard saga play out, this seems like the male version of Tiffany Henyard. Even down to Tiffany's Tahoe, he's got a Jeep. It is insane how close.
I remember, I think someone, I think, was it Pink Book Lesson that was referring to her as Tiffany Tahoe Henyard? Or somebody else, or was it Nate the lawyer? But someone was referring to her as Tiffany Tahoe Henyard. But yeah, they're pretty similar. It's the male version.
Tiffany's Tahoe, he's got a Jeep. It is insane how close this is. It seems like this guy got into office and didn't realize that, hey, this money comes from somewhere and we have to be responsible with other people's money. But that's the story. Let me know how you feel in the comments section. As always, tell me where I'm wrong, because this story is insane. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe to all the great YouTube stuff. My name is Ed the Lawyer. I'm seeing you on the next one.
All right. So do the same thing, like, share, subscribe, and share this video. But I will also leave a link to the full video without my fat face in it. But yes, that is what I was thinking. That is the male version of Tiffany Henyard. Did I say her name right? Henyard, or Tahoe Henyard, aka Tahoe Henyard. And I like that he brought down crime, increased people moving into the city. And he did do some pretty good things, but also he did some pretty bad things, and he needs to be held accountable for all these alleged things. So, but I also hate that they always just throw the race card all the time, even when they know what they did is wrong. I don't know. I don't understand what's going on with the politicians. We need to hold them accountable. We need to hold our politicians accountable, no matter of the skin tone. They need to be held accountable, and not everything is a witch hunt. I know some people are going to say, well, there are white mayors who do the same thing, and yes, you are right. And even though Nate the Lawyer, he also does videos in them. But like I said, I just started this channel, so you're not going to see that yet. But yes, they need to be held accountable for what they're doing. And yes, even though he has done some good stuff, he also is doing some pretty undermining things. And I don't know, I think at some point they all had good intentions, and somewhere along the line, along the way, they got corrupted somehow. And yeah, there should be some kind of way, some kind of balance here. And I think, yes, when it comes to spending, it should be voted on. Because again, this is taxpayers' money. We're the ones that's paying all these high taxes, especially here in New York. Taxes is already high. And what are they going to do when they're going to shortfall and they're going to leave the city in a bad state, and then maybe they themselves in the next term, or even if someone else gets reelected, they're gonna eventually raise taxes to fill in that gap of the money that they don't have to upkeep the city, and yeah, it ends up falling on us. And again, like Nate the Lawyer said, you have to think about where the money's coming from, and it's kind of sad, but. Like I said, there needs to be some way to hold them accountable, and I think they should use my idea, and it should be voted on. The card should be locked unless it's an approved purchase, and go along with the bank. Only approve this one. Everything else gets declined. Only these charges that we approve can be charged. But yeah, you let me know what you think in the comments. And as I said before, like, share, subscribe, hit that bell icon to be notified when I upload another reaction. Until next time. This is AK Reacts. Peace out.